Can you ask for help? Can you ask for help? Can you ask for help? No, that is not the killer question that you should ask in every interview. The killer question that you should ask every potential employee to join your team or your department is, give me an example of when you asked for help. Give me an example of when you asked for help. And I want you to stay listening this week to JTinTheRaw, because I am going to tell you a very important twist to that question to help you identify the type of person that is applying for your position. Welcome to JTinTheRaw, show 217. Let me just check, I'll tell you, because I actually can't remember. How bad's that? Hope everybody's had a cracking week. Hope you have had fun. Hope you've had some wins. And I definitely hope you are safe and sound. Good morning, Frosty. Good morning, Susie. Hope everybody is doing great. What am I looking for here? What show are we up to? I have got no idea. Don't even know where to look for. 217. Show 217. This is where I chew the thin on business. And after 31 years in business, I have just a few things to chew. And one of the things that I love to chew about is how to get the right people working for you. Doesn't matter whether you're a real estate agent, doesn't matter whether you're a gym, doesn't matter whether you are a car sales dealership, it doesn't matter if you're a landscape gardener. None of that matters if you got the wrong person working for you. This show is about helping you ask one extra question to identify the best person to work for you. Yes, Frosty, grand final weekend for the Shoot Shield here in Sydney, the rugby grand final. It's going to be a tough game. Eastwood versus Gordon, I don't care. Norths got beaten last week. Jamie, good morning. So, Mike Anderson, good afternoon, sir. How are you over there in the United States? Okay, so this week I was listening to, or re-listening to, I should say, show 316 on the Fitness Business Podcast. It was a fascinating interview with Al Almador, who is one of the senior consultants for the Table Group. Table Group is Patrick Lencioni's company. Patrick Lencioni wrote this current book that I am reading. That is what I'm currently reading. But he also read the book Mirror, Good Morning. He also wrote the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And in this interview, Al focused on building trust in the workplace and how important trust is and how we can build trust even remotely while we're doing things on Zoom. But how important trust was in order to have healthy conflict within our business. It is an awesome interview, one of the best interviews we have ever delivered on the Fitness Business Podcast. If you haven't listened to it, just put 316 in the comments below, whether you're watching live or on replay. 316 in the comments below. I'll send you a link. It's about a 40-minute show. It is a must listen. 316 in the comments below. Now, during the show, during his interview, he talks about a whole different bunch of ways that we can build trust in the workplace to strengthen the functions of our team, to strengthen the way our team works. And it's almost like a throwaway line where he talks about having people working in our business who are comfortable asking for help. Jamie, Mike, Mira, I will send you the links after the show to show 316. And it's really interesting, Carol, I'll send it to you as well. It's a really interesting question to ask. And what he says in this interview kind of piqued my interest. And so I started to think about this a little bit more and uncover how we could ask the question. So generally, we get weak and we get poor and we get tired in our interviews often. And so we would probably ask, let's call it a closed question like, so Carol, if you were to work with us, how comfortable would you be asking for help to do something in your job? Oh, I'd feel very comfortable. In fact, if you asked any applicant, do you feel comfortable asking for help? 9.5 out of 10 of those people will say yes. Absolutely, they are going to categorically say yes. However, we don't want to ask a closed question. We want to ask an open question. And so the open question is this. Can you give me an example of when you've asked for help in a previous job? Let me say that question again. Can you give me an example of when you've asked for help in a previous job? Now, what do you think the answers are going to be? Oh, well, I didn't know how to turn the computer on, so I asked for help. I wasn't sure how to turn on the alarm, so I asked for help. Now, here is the interesting thing. Your role as the person doing the interview is to then add a statement after that question. Otherwise, the answers that you get of examples will be very operational based and you will not drill down deeply on that applicant and their values. Let me say that again. If you don't add one more sentence after that question, you will get a very shallow answer, a very operational based answer. So, here's the question. Carol, can you give me an example of where you had to ask for help in a previous job? But I need that example, Carol, to show where you were kind of unskilled, you were weak, you were uneducated in that role. And by asking that question, it made you vulnerable to the person that was about to answer it, whether that was a workmate or somebody you reported to. Let me say that again, because this is a key. Give me the example where you would have, asking that question, can I get some help, would have shown that you were weak, you were unskilled, or even uneducated, which made you vulnerable to somebody you worked with or you reported to. Now, the goal of this question is to hear the example, to see if they're comfortable asking for help that puts them in a position of vulnerability with their workmates. That vulnerability allows us to build trust. Build trust, primary function of every team. It was pure gold from Al. So let me just rephrase all this again. Let me put this in an example. Thanks, Jamie. It's an awesome question to ask. So for example, let's imagine the job that you've got is you're looking for someone to join you and you cut trees down. So you say to somebody, can you give me an example of when you worked for somebody and you asked for help? And they would say something like, yeah, I wasn't sure how to turn the chainsaw on because it was a chainsaw brand that I hadn't used. So I asked the boss, how do I turn on the chainsaw? No, that's not what we want. The bit that is the most important thing is not how do we cut the trees down with the chainsaw. It's where do we start to cut first? Because if you've never cut a tree down, by asking where do I start first makes you vulnerable to the person you're working with. This is a key component to any team operation. Vulnerability with the people that you work with. So, let me give you another example. Let's imagine somebody's going to come and sell widgets. They're selling widgets. So the question that you're going to ask, have you ever sought any help that may have left you a little bit vulnerable to your teammates or your direct report? And we're selling widgets. Oh, well, when I was selling widgets, I had to ask a team member, is the widget going to help the efficiencies or the effectiveness of the person that's using it? And how will they do that? Because that just shows that you don't really understand what a widget is. But that's what you're selling. And by asking that question, it makes you vulnerable to the person that you're working with. I love this question. I reckon this is a great question to ask. Now remember, it's not a closed question. So the question is not, have you ever asked for help from a workmate or a direct report? No. The question is, can you give me an example of where you have asked for help from a workmate or a direct report that has left you a little bit vulnerable because it showed how much you didn't know? If you like that question, give me a love heart right now. Whether you're watching live or on replay, who likes that question? Who reckons they could interweave that question into their application process, whether it be through the application form, but more importantly, face-to-face in the interview? If you like it, I want you to use it. And I want to hear how you go with the success of that question. As I said, I got this thought this week when I re-listened to show 316 on the Fitness Business Podcast. If you haven't listened to 316, I highly recommend it. And I'll send you the link. Put 316 in the comments below. I'll send you the link to be able to listen to this. There's so many powerful insights into building trust within the team. And the insight that I got is asking your applicants, do they feel comfortable asking for help? When that question may in fact mean that they will be vulnerable to a teammate or a direct report. If you enjoyed the show, as always, I'd ask you to share it. Just hit the share button wherever it is, on whatever the device you're watching this, hit the share button, share it with your friends and colleagues. I'd be really grateful. And if you did like it and you liked what I talked about today, hit me with a love heart any stage during the show. Thank you, Kirsten. Great having you on board this morning. JTinTheRaw comes to you same time every single week with little insights to try and help you run your business more efficiently, more effectively, for you to be a better leader. And I hope today will help you identify better people to join your team so that you can service your customers, your clients, your members, your peeps, your community even better with somebody who works well in a team environment. I hope you all have an awesome weekend, and I will catch you on the flip side.